Upwards of 6 months ago, we planted our garlic cloves, covered them up with some mulch, and hoped for the best. For sure, some of us saw early sprouting, even through thick layers of snow. But for the most part, our garlic has lied dormant, waiting for the warmth of spring. Except that it really hasn't. From the minute that those cloves touched moist soil, their growth process had begun. And for such a long growing crop, think about it. These guys are already over 6 months old. Garlic, though, is surprisingly low maintenance. And that makes sense when you think about it. For nearly 2/3 of its life initially, garlic lies in a semi-dormant state throughout all the fall and winter. But in this long 8 to 10 month life cycle, there's key times where we, the grower, can actually affect the viability of the harvest, the health of the plants, the size of the bulbs. Spring is here, and now is one of those key times. The weeks after your last spring frost date, likely when your garlic has sprung up showing those crisp, fresh green blades, is the exact time when we, the grower, can make our mark on this crop. I have 5 things that we can do with our garlic in the early spring to ensure a max harvest this summer. Garlic is the good son. It doesn't need a lot of attention throughout its lifespan, but the things that we do for it now will come back to us triple in the future. So, pull up a chair, grab a drink, and let's talk some garlic. Full disclosure here, I do realize that not all garlic growers have the same calendar schedule. Southern or warm climate garlic growers, especially those planting the softneck varieties, may just be planting their garlic now. That's okay. In about 3 weeks, your garlic will have sprouted and you'll be in the same boat that we northern growers are in. You see, we're still one big happy garlic family, and all the strategies that we're going to talk about today are still going to apply. And the first of those strategies is spacing. Hopefully we planted our garlic properly in the first place, giving it that minimum of 4 inches of spacing. Stray bulbs or bulbs that have split off can monkey around with our spacing. So now that the garlic is up and growing, we can easily and diligently observe the minimum spacing rules. But for those of you that mistakenly planted the whole bulb together, I'm sorry, but there's not much you can do. You could try to pry the individual plants apart and replant them somewhere else, but I've never heard of that being really successful. In fact though, if you have tried that and you actually were successful, please leave a comment down below, because that would actually be really, really cool. Now, the reason for spacing so diligently is because garlic hates competition, both from itself and from other plants. Namely, weeds. Just as your garlic has sprouted with gusto this spring, likely so has a bunch of weeds. Take those guys out now while it's still easy and relatively painless. Competition from weeds and other plants will result in a poor harvest, so eliminate them as early as you can. At this time of year, it shouldn't be too hard, and even doing dozens of square feet of growing space shouldn't take you too long. Once you do weed and get that bed clear of unwanted plants, this leads right into our third tip, and that's a mulch refresh. Mulch does a lot more than just protecting your crops from moisture loss and temperature extremes. Which is super important, don't get me wrong. But it also chokes out and smothers any new weeds from sprouting back up. Garlic is relatively maintenance free. Keeping it that way by repacking in some nice mulch is going to ensure a better harvest. Speaking of those moisture levels in your soil, garlic tolerates a wide range of it. However, too wet is definitely not good. This time of year can be very wet in the garden, with high precipitation rates on top of that snow melt. So, be conservative in your watering. For my area, it's not uncommon for me to plant in October and literally not water the garlic until May. Garlic has really long roots that are very adept at finding and holding onto moisture. Plus, the plant has tough, low surface area leaves. This means a low rate of transpiration. Obviously, we don't want our garlic to desiccate and dry out completely. That's not good for any plant. But remember, every time you water, you flush that soil of valuable organic matter and even more precious nutrients. Which brings us to our fifth and final tip, and that's those nutrients. For a small, low-maintenance crop, garlic is a surprisingly heavy feeder. Those small green shoots may seem insignificant now, but in about a month, they'll be up to 4 feet tall and quite substantial. The best fertilizers for garlic are low dose and slow release. Without mega lush foliage to support, garlic doesn't need, nor does it like, those short bursts of high dose nutrition. Amending with compost when we first planted back in the fall was great, a really good start. And in fact, for some situations, that's going to last your garlic until May or even early summer. Regardless though, once the shoots appear above ground, your garlic is looking for food. Now, here's where it gets confusing. You'll find that some growers suggest a high nitrogen application, while others push for a high phosphorus one. For me, in the 15 years that I've been growing garlic, a balanced blend seems to work the best. I go low dose fish or seaweed extract, diluted to the manufacturer's specifications. I water in the first application as soon as the garlic shoots are about 4 inches high. This is usually a couple weeks after my last spring frost date. You really want to make sure that garlic is growing before you feed it though. As far as how often to feed, I find that doing the same application every 3 weeks or so works best. Normally, there's about 4 months between your last spring frost date and your harvest, around 16 to 17 weeks. So if you're fertilizing every 3 weeks, that means a maximum of 5 applications are needed. So in the grand scheme of all the crops you grow, you can see that garlic doesn't really need very much. But just a few applications of a balanced liquid feed really does help you to maximize the bulb size. And of course, the overall harvest. One other thing you can do in the spring that's really beneficial for your garlic is to use green grass clippings as your mulch material. If you already need to reapply a layer of mulch in the spring, green grass is an excellent choice and a great source of free nitrogen and organic matter. While not as aesthetically pleasing as the contrast that bright straw gives, the added nutrition can't be beat. Of course, the green on green is not really attractive, but hey, function always wins over form in my garden. Garlic is one of my favorite crops to grow. It's in the ground for so long, and the wait can be trying sometimes. But remember, a good chunk of that is over the fall and winter period where the garlic is essentially dormant. The times that your garlic needs your help and intervention is far and few between. It just so happens that spring is one of those times. If you can give your garlic a little more attention now, you'll be reaping bigger and better bulbs down the road. Happy growing, guys. Hey, thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate the support more than you know. And if you're getting value from these videos, please like and share them to spread the word and help your fellow gardener to grow better.